as you saw from those couple clips there. Had a pretty successful day at the track. You can tell I got really excited. We did end up breaking the stock Gen 1 engine record. The day wasn't without its battles though, so I'm gonna go through the videos of all 3 attempts we made and then talk about between passes. I'm gonna have to narrate this a little bit from here because when we were at the track, we're pretty focused on getting the car sorted and you know, that kind of deal. So yeah, I'm gonna go through that, and then at the end of it, I did like my normal review of the day kind of thing, my Sunday morning stuff where I just debrief myself and go through the data log. So I did that kind of with you guys. It's the end of the video here. It is kind of long, that video. Just that screen capture by itself is like 15 minutes long. So if you want to check that out, it's pretty techy. It's all based going through the data log and the issues we see there and what I plan to do in the future to kind of sort some of that stuff out. So but nonetheless, yeah, gonna go through this, show you guys the record hit, and go from there. So check it out. All right, we're out here waiting for the lanes to open. They opened the gate early today doing their annual tech stuff. So kind of snuck in, got unloaded, just hanging out. It's pretty cold. The air earlier when I looked, it was 40 degrees and 81% humidity. It was like negative 300 feet. I don't think it's not obviously going to stay that good. It's probably 300 or 400 feet above right now. But yeah, nonetheless, going to load one tune-up in it and get ready to go make a hit. Check out Jesse. Alright, so that was the first hit. Didn't go super well. I thought it hit boost cut on the 1-2 shift, but the drive-out wire actually freaked out. So TJ and Amos and I just went through the wiring and everything looks okay. We manually just tested the sensors, looked at the Haltech side of stuff, pulled the little extension harness I built to go to the pedal from the Haltech harness. Everything looks fine. So yeah, that hit to the 330 shut off at like 3.28 seconds, and it was still a 1/10 quicker to the 330 than the 880 pass was. So naturally I put 2 pounds of CO2 in it, turn it up a little bit more, and we're gonna try it again. All right, so the car is shifted via Haltech through, it's like a CO2 MAC valve deal, right? It's triggered based on RPM and essentially the Haltech has a trans control, right? So it will only shift it twice, and then so it doesn't like click it in the neutral on the big end, because this is a clean neutral trans. So it's got a neutral reverse, first gear, second gear, third gear, and then another neutral at the end of the gate, right? So just so you're clear on that. So what happened is the thing didn't shift, and of course by the time excuse me, by the time I realized it didn't shift, I should have just bailed and aborted the pass. But like an idiot, I decided, I'll just shift it myself. So I reached over there and hit the lever and clicked it in the second, and then after it was on the limiter for, I don't know, like 0.6 of a second, something ridiculous, you know. Like I said, I should have just aborted the hit. But so I clicked it in the second, and then the light came on again, so I grabbed third, and as I grabbed third, I clipped it's got like a neutral, the front of the shifter's got the lever, right? That lever is what allows it to go into neutral after third gear. And you know, somehow I just, in the heat of the moment, I grabbed that, and so I stuck it in the neutral, full song, 20 pounds on the limiter, 8200. It was a disaster. That said, we couldn't figure out why it wouldn't shift. We simulated, I set the rev limiter to like 2K, and then in the pits I could just modulate the throttle with it in gear, sitting still, and it would shift, and it did everything fine. What we learned though is that the shift situation has to reset itself, meaning that once it auto upshifts into third gear, if you manually put it back down in the first, it doesn't have a gear indicator, and because it's by RPM, it still thinks it's in third, so it won't run through the shift process again. So I don't know I don't know what could have happened to cause it to think it was already in third gear, if something after the burnout did that. I don't know, but you know, when we were at the track a couple weeks ago, we didn't have any of these problems. So I don't know, I'm kind of baffled. We didn't find anything wrong with it. I reset the shift points, and then we literally again didn't find an issue. So naturally we turned it up more and went to make another pass. But yeah, you see me in the video grab the gear, then if you watch real close, you'll see me grab the neutral release lever and click it in the neutral. And yeah, I mean, it shut off at like, I don't even remember, like just before the 8th, coasted to like a 950 something. So it's pretty disappointing. But yeah, so yep, didn't find anything wrong, turn it up, go back, make another attempt. So here's what happened.
I just broke the stock engine record for the car!
I know, I looked at it. You think I don't
Yes, dude! Yeah, dude!
Dude, I was bumping my brakes on your buddy.
Yes!
That's badass, dude.
Oh shit, it broke up too! It popped in the middle of the gear!
It was flying. Hey, I was 10 on the street.
Yeah, I see that! Yes! Oh man! He broke up in the middle of second too. God, man.
All right, doing my my Sunday morning debrief, day after. Yeah, so as you see from the videos, it was a bit of a struggle. We had some issues, we fought through them, sorted it out. I'll go over the data log here in a second. The breakup on the record hit there on that 859 pass, I think is a noise issue. I don't know why yet. I haven't really looked into it. I've got the power wire from the ECU on the battery post, but it's, you know, there's really limited space there, and it's kind of shared with the alternator output. When we didn't have the alternator functioning, the noise wasn't an issue. So I'm wondering if there's something tied in there. It's a possibility. The other possibility too is just as you increase cylinder pressure, the ignition system, you require more of the ignition system, and the result of that, the coils put off more, just more RF, which is cost for interference as well. So I don't know if we're seeing a result of a noise issue, a noise issue from where I'm picking the power supply up, because it's coordination with the alternator, something to do with the alternator in general. There's no real sensors by the alternator to speak of. But we had the drive-by-wire codes come up again. Those happened twice. The second time it happened, it actually didn't shut the car off. It just threw an error. And then the trigger issue on the last pass, that's really what prevented us from making another hit. I wanted to make another, well, we all kind of wanted to make another pass. But because the thing had, I mean, we've still got a bit more in the thing. I think we can go quite a bit faster with the setup yet. But the noise in the data log and it losing sync in the middle of a high gear hit really is like, we're fortunate that it survived that. I've seen that be catastrophic before. That thing lights the fire at way the wrong time, and you know, it could spit the crankshaft out the bottom, right? And we're already asking for trouble with this thing as it is, so we sent it home. But I'm gonna sort that out. It's got a transmission leak. I thought that it was pushing fluid just out of the vent, which is true. It's pushing fluid into the catch can, but after the pass, you hear the guy handing me the slip say, "You got a transmission leak." And I replied with, "Oh, yeah, it's coming out of the vent, no big deal." Well, sitting in the garage overnight, I'll just show you. It's actually got a puddle underneath it. I haven't climbed under the car to look yet, but check that out. That's right underneath the cooler. So yeah, I got to sort that out a bit. Yeah, I gotta move the dashboard in the car's in the car. Now again, I don't really look at the dash much. Excuse me, during the pass, obviously I don't look at it at all. But I can't see it sitting in the car if the sun hits it because of the angle it's on. So I might remount that. I might remake something with that. But yeah, so I'm gonna go through the data log here a second with you guys, just to go through that, what we think of that. And go from there. And then I'll talk about what we're gonna do now. So we've broke the record. We're gonna race the rest of the season with the car. So we're gonna turn the thing back down. I'm probably gonna put the interior back in it. I might put the full exhaust back on it for now. Not real sure yet. So we'll chat about that a bit after we go through the data. Again, this is pretty techy for some people. So yeah, hope you guys can follow along. If not, you have some questions, man, just leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer them. So check it out. All right, so here's the data log from the 859 pass. First thing I want to point out is just the. Check this out. So this is the This is RPM. See these issues here. This here makes no sense, right? Like that should be pretty straightforward line, right? And then here is when it popped in third. And you see it dropped I mean, it just lost RPM signal, right? All the way down to like 5,400 from, what was it up here, 65. So it just, yeah, temporarily lost crank signal for some reason. And then you see the noise here again. It just, all of those little issues tell me that there's definitely a noise issue on something going on there. You can also see it. We put battery voltage up. You can see this dip in battery voltage at the same time. Now that dip might not correlate to it. You see it again here. Now, and the other side of that too is it's really a pretty small change because, I mean, the peak, this whole graph, the highest point is 13.6 and the lowest point is 13.5. So it's talking tenth of a volt, you know. So it's really nothing probably. Yeah, but that definitely shows me a trigger issue. I haven't been data logging any of the trigger stuff. I changed that, so now we will be. But yeah, just the tach signal's crazy scary. And here's like intake temp, and it looks really good. That signal looks really good and smooth. So I don't know. And ironically enough, the crankshaft position sensor is a shielded input, and it's about 10 inches from where this is. They're both on the back of the engine. The intake temp's in the back of the intake manifold, so I don't really know what to make of that as far as proximity goes. But neither of these harnesses run by the ignition coils. As far as like RF noise being direct with them doesn't happen. I'm really not sure what the deal is with that, but definitely something we've got to sort out. So other stuff here. So check out intake temp did pretty good. This was 53 degrees or so. It never got over 76 degrees. It spiked and then came back. That's a little weird to me. I'm not 100% sure what to make of that. Now that said, boost level from here to there is pretty similar. I'll actually put manifold pressure down here. So yeah, you see, well, it did go down a bit here. So that might be why we're seeing that track down a little bit. Yeah, so that hit we left on, we'll put the G meter up here so we get a more accurate representation of that. Scale that guy a little bit. But yeah, so it left right around, wow, so it definitely didn't leave till, okay, so if you use the tach rather than the G meter offset's obviously not, 0 isn't 0 there. I have to adjust that somehow. But so if you figure, here's two-step RPM. We left at 19 pounds or so. It peaks at 24.2, 24.8 right here. Levels off in the 23 area, 23, 24. You see the actual value here. Pretty much all the way through low gear. I pulled 5 pounds. I had 5 pounds added in first. I pulled it all out for second, dropped it down to 20 pounds, 21. It looks like right before the shift there. And then it was 19 to 20 in high. Well, it looks like it just touched 21 at the end of the hit there. But yeah, so we could leave. I'm feeling way more comfortable with the engine combo. When you start pushing stock stuff like this, you really don't know where your limit is. And being that the pass before this, it like hung on the limiter and then hit the limiter. I was like super hard on it after something like that, and it's surviving. I'm I'm feeling much more confident in what we can put this thing through. But yeah, so that's interesting. The G meter data is pretty standard as it was before. It's interesting. I need to figure out how to lay this graph and the other graph over top of each other. So the 880 pass, it was 1.7 something Gs. This we see a max of 1.91, almost 2 G there. And then at the top of third on the others deal, it was 0.33, so it's 0.4. So it's pretty much, a tenth of a G to 2/10 of a G higher, basically everywhere, which makes sense, right? What else we got going on? Oh, so if we get rid of intake temp and the G meter here, check out how we did some more work on the PID loop for the wastegate pressure at the track. Look at how much better this reacts. See how much finer that is from the last log. You have to watch the last video to see the other data log, but you can see it overshoots a little bit and then recovers. But man, it's doing a good job of just regulating CO2 pressure there. That makes me happy. I was fighting that for a bit. You can see the target drops at the gear changes, right? If you correlate this here, you see it drops right at the gear change, and then again at the gear change there. So that's working well. And then we look at, that's wastegate pressure. I wanted to show you guys exhaust manifold pressure. So check this out. So this thing is actually still super efficient here. So we're 29 pounds of manifold pressure or exhaust manifold pressure to 23.5 pounds of boost. As RPM goes up, they actually get a little bit closer together, but you can see there's some oscillations in here. The car is a bit rich up top. It was 0.7, I think, lambda up here. I'm targeting 0.75. It was 0.75 in the middle, but as the VE falls, I just don't have pulling enough fuel out of it up top because the engine's just losing so much efficiency up there. I haven't compensated for it well enough yet. But yeah, so, and you see up top in high gear here, it's looking real good. Look at that. 20 pounds of boost, 21 pounds of back pressure, 21, 22. It's a pound over. So we definitely still got room on the turbocharger, even up here at 24 pounds. Now you can see there's a 5-pound spread there, almost a 6-pound spread at the top of the gear. So yeah, there's more there, but we're going to start tapping that thing out up there. I've heard a couple of guys say that they haven't been able to see more over 22, 23 pounds of boost on that thing. We're still seeing some up there, which could have a lot to do with the air to water doing such a good job keeping the intake temps down, whereas guys with an air to air might not have the same success. The air temperature might just be outdoing the actual air mass change, right? It might making the boost change basically a moot point, right? But yeah, so that's definitely happy with that. You see these spikes here, check that out. How they correlate with that misfire, right? So you see when it loses signal, the exhaust manifold pressure drops all the way down to 7.2, and then when it comes back on, it's 30 immediately because it popped, right? What else do we want to look at here? Yeah, everything else looks, other than the noise on some of this stuff, everything looks really good. I will go up here, we'll look at oil pressure a second. You can see this drop here is getting more severe in the last pass. So this is the 124 60 foot deal. It's 100 pounds there. It drops all the way down to 76. You can see it kind of regulating itself, and then obviously down track it's happy. But I'll click on that so you see that a little bit better. But yeah, see this drop just after the hit there, which is where you would see it because it's a little bit delayed on what the oiling system's got to evac the pressure that's in there in order for you to see the fall. But yeah, pretty normal stuff. I mean, this thing's still super conservative tune-wise. I haven't touched the ignition table yet. I'll even show you guys that. I didn't think I talked about that much. I kind of tend to keep this a little close to the chest at times, how safe I run this thing. But at 24 pounds at 7,600, I had 17 degrees in it. Way down here in the middle, it had 16 degrees in it at 6,700. So it's super conservative yet for 23 pounds of boost. And then up top, same thing. I'm 17 degrees or so on 22 pound or 20. Wow. Oh, that's EMAP. Sorry. Manifold pressure on 20 pounds. Got 17 degrees in it. 16, 17 degrees in it. So it's super conservative there, especially with, 70-degree intake temps. It's very safe. So, but yeah, I think that's all I wanted to show you guys. I added some other stuff to the log that I since this, I don't have drive shaft RPM in here, and I've added that now. This is getting a little congested here. Let me delete a few of these things real fast, and we can look at something else. All right, so there's this boost over G-force. What else I wanted to show you guys? Oh, let's see if I haven't looked at this. I'm assuming the fuel system is still keeping up. This is fuel pressure total. This is not differential pressure. So you see we're 62 there as boost falls. You see the boost curve here. Fuel pressure follows it exactly, and up top, the big high gear hit there, it's still maintaining just right where it should. So that's good. Fuel pumps are still keeping up well. We did have 13 volts the whole pass that time. I think, yeah, the lowest they got was 13.5, like I said in the earlier video there. We're 80, where it was too rich there. Again, I'll put the wideband up here so you can kind of correlate that. But let's make that look a little bit more, a little crazier. So you see it's a bit, wow, it's pretty rich right off the hit. Yeah, 0.7 there, and then in the middle it's 0.75, which is again what I'm targeting. And as RPM comes up, the VE falls drastically. It's all the way down to 0.7 again. At the top of the gear there, we're 86% injector duty. Now I'm only running, I think, 36 pounds of base fuel pressure or something. It's pretty low base fuel currently for fuel pressure, and these are Siemens Deca 220s. So yeah, 86% on an E85 fuel. It's definitely making a lot of power. I'm really curious actually to see what that calculates to for a horsepower number. But it's significant for a stock engine anything, let alone a Gen 1 stock Coyote, right? So something that's known to have issues. You see the lean reaction at the car, as this happened. You see the delay there. Some of that's the electronics, right? But some of it is the duration it takes for the exhaust mass to actually move through the engine and see the result of it after the fact, right? There is going to be definitely a delay just in air travel, right? But yeah, I went all the way up to 1 lambda. Let's check out how, 0.78 there at the gear change. And it shows the same thing. Shows the same thing after the gear change there. So I got to add more fuel down in that 7,000 area and pull some more out up top. Check this out. Look at how rich it gets out here. Oh, wow. 0.69 lambda at the end of high gear. So yeah, definitely got to correct that. But hoping the intake manifold change. What I mean by that, I'll show you the VE map here just to give you guys an idea what I'm talking about. Oops, fuel base. We want 3 fuel. Oops. So if I shape this to the side, give you guys an angle of it, but you see so this axis is RPM, and you see how RPM comes up and the V starts to fall. I need to taper this down more up here to make it not get so rich up top. But so the shape of the VE curve is generally going to follow the shape of the power curve, right? So you see this thing is good here in the middle, and this in the middle here, let's just select like a 6,000 line. Oh, it won't let me do that. Hold on, sorry. Kind of learning as we go here. So let's say we 7,000 line there to give you an idea where that's at. You see that that's that spot there, right? So, and after that it goes really rich. So I'm gonna have to pull these down to like here. So that's gonna be your general shape of the power curve. And beans that we're turning the thing way up here, up top, I mean, it doesn't fall ever under here, right? Because that's 7,000. So it never gets under here in RPM. So I'm wanting to change the intake manifold to add more plenum volumes. I think that's why it's falling off so bad up top. And that should create this VE to travel basically straight across, right? Well, that would be the idea, is that the engine would stay efficient. It is going to fall off. We just don't want it to fall off as little as possible would be the idea there. But it is still stock camshaft, so that's the other thing. I still haven't played with any of the camshaft timing. This is all the camshaft timing from my stock ECU NA tune-up. I literally have never messed with it with the turbocharger setup on it. That's one of the other things I would like to do with the intake manifold change, is get it back on the dyno and play with some cam timing. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I think that's it for this video. I think moving forward here, I'm gonna, like I said previously, I'm gonna put the interior back in the car. We're gonna turn the thing down and do some bracket racing. I've got some neat tricks up my sleeve for that I think you guys are gonna like. Just as far as just some basic boost ramp stuff. If you know much about bracket racing, it's an interesting thing when you've got a bunch more mile an hour than the other guy. So I'm gonna like make a boost ramp really slow and late and ramp some power in. I'm probably not gonna turn it up more than like maybe 15 pounds. I don't plan on getting anything crazy power wise, but yeah, that's it for this one. So subscribe. We'll keep these videos coming. Is there anything else you guys want to see data wise, or like you want me to talk about anything else in the combination or any of that kind of thing? Yeah, just leave a comment and I will I will respond and do my best to answer your questions. So that's it for this one.